It is fine, acceptable, on the lower limit of acceptable. Interesting. Think about that. There ain't no tuning this engine to duplicate this. The other engine ain't gonna happen. No freaking way. Alrighty, today we're doing the slightly uglier sister of this engine. Now, Cody just put this all on. I think we might even do a video of the complete install, or maybe we'll do a little more of that, how long it actually takes to dink around with this. So, I think we have everything hooked up. So we took the carburetors, the fuel regulator lines off of the other engine, the first one. Because he wants to swap this all over. I had to put a new linkage kit on this engine, so because the other linkage kit doesn't fit on this engine, because they're two different engines, obviously, and from two different engine builders. Again, this one is supposed to also be a pro stock truck engine from way back in the day. Not sure who this one is from. I know but he got it from a different person, and so we're trying to make things work. So it's minimal amount of changeover, like to literally just take the carburetors, the fuel regulator, put it on the other engine. That's it. Well, then you have to put the motor plate on. So trying to do minimal amount of swap over stuff, so he can do a easy swap over in case he does hurt an engine. Is it likely to hurt an engine? Pretty much. Just is. Kind of nature of the beast. So you are going to be witnessing me working through getting this thing entirely started. There is Cody just put it on, so it has nothing done to it to make sure that it runs and all the stuff is right and linkage is working right, all that kind of stuff. I just got sidetracked because I'm looking at this linkage here, but it's right. Looks good. And getting it all running, to on this engine as his backup engine. So let's get this running. Oh, and I think we're gonna have Nate put a camera right up here so you can look down inside the carburetors. That would be kind of cool. Alright, so I thought what I would do here is do this AKA Old Man Garage. I happened to be watching Old Man Garage, and I thought, you know what, I think we're going to do a video where I do a lot of voiceover and just kind of talk about what I'm doing, what's going on. So the engine already got put on there, Cody already got it on there, so I'm just going through and changing some stuff that he didn't put on right, basically. Fuel pump, some other stuff, but always trying to keep things clean and spend so much time just trying to do and keep fittings and just trying to make things nice and correct through here. So actually right here I forgot what I was actually doing was putting the well, right now I was just talking to Nate, camera guy, but I moved in the other fuel cell just because it was already hooked up and already had the correct regulator on it, already had the correct stuff. So we have these two dyno cells, and so you would think you would only, if you had two dyno cells, you'd have two of everything. No, you don't. You end up having like three of everything. I haven't figured out what the math is exactly there, but for some reason you end up with all this stuff. Right behind the wall, right behind the dyno, is my header room. And I have probably 20 different sets of headers back there. And if you go upstairs, there's exhaust and half turbo systems, more headers, more intake charge pipes, and all sorts of stuff that we've used to hook things up. Now this engine is running on Q16. Both engines running on Q16. You see, I'm going over some stuff because I had started this up, didn't have it on video, but I had started the engine, and as soon as I started the engine made so much noise, it corrupted the Dyno data acquisition and actually shut my Dyno computer off. So something is super noisy, so I wrapped the coil in tin foil, so you see that, and it still did it. And now I'm going back through spark plugs, wires, and making sure stuff is actually snapping on correctly and there's no bad wire, no bad anything. Looking through my wiring, looking through my data cables, trying to figure out where this thing is picking up radio noise at. Radio noise in this application doesn't affect the engine, but it affects all your data acquisition stuff. Now I've just decided, all right, I'm just going to cover up all the electronics. So that's the data acquisition box and my load amplifier box. So I've covered that stuff up, and now go back out and try it again. Alrighty, so I made the, finally got the first pull, just the initial pull. So this is the initial pull there. Finally got it to quit freaking out the Dyno data cable. So it's picking up noise, and you can see all my tin foil wrap around on everything inside the Dyno room. You saw me do that. So oh, you saw me doing this other stuff. So I think we're getting ready. Now we're gonna pull the valve covers off and just lash everything up, make sure everything's all good. You know, just made a simple little pull up to 7,000. We'll verify our oil pressure valve, verify all that stuff. I don't think that fixed it, but I think it fixed it back there. So it's picking up some noise from this engine, and I don't know why it's picking up off of this engine and didn't pick it up off the other engine, because everything's the same. So just is one of those things I've been, sort of struggle with and try to get figured out. Okay, something else that's a little bit interesting is I did not build these engines. Okay, so this engine, we put a Torrington bearing in it in the front, just made sure everything is right. Reassembled it. I didn't design or do anything on these engines, and they're good running. This will probably run good too. I saw some comments about how fast the pump was getting sped up on the other one, oil pump, and this one I did not set that pump up. Yeah, it probably was spinning too fast, but keep in mind some pumps are different than others, and some are not designed, or like a daily pump. Very common is the ratio is not half like other pumps. They spin them a little bit faster. This one is spinning really slow. Excuse me. And it's only making, it made 45 pounds of oil pressure at 7,000 RPM, which is just not. It's in this application, and especially for Dyno pull, it really doesn't matter. This application, it is fine, acceptable. On the lower limit of acceptable. Would it be better with more oil pressure? Yeah, I think so. Does it do any harm having more oil pressure? Absolutely not. Does it take 2 more horsepower or whatever to drive the oil pump? Yeah, don't care. So that's a long way of saying this one is spinning too slow. I'm going to speed this one up. The one that was spinning and making a lot of oil pressure, I really don't care. It's not that big a deal. It's better to have that extra oil layer or boundary layer pressure. Where I figure it is at is I don't know the direct math, but I know there must be math here. So all you, I'll ask the oil nerd, Bill the oil nerd is gonna come. He'll like this. Could probably ask him, but there must be or the bearing guys would know too. There must be a multiplier of pressure. So let's take oil. If oil was just the oil and it didn't matter how much oil pressure it had, then that would be some kind of oil boundary layer, something, blah, 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 how it sticks and clings and doesn't get squirted out, it doesn't get pressured out. That I think boundary layer is the right word, not real sure. So adding oil pressure must increase that, and I don't think, let's say oil holds, let's just talk in round numbers, I don't know the exact numbers, okay? Oil keeps, if it just had oil on it and oil circulating through it like 10 psi, 5 psi, 1 psi, it would hold 500 pounds of pressure without going through the oil film. So if we add 10 pounds of oil pressure, how much it doesn't just make it 110 pounds. If you add 100 pounds of oil pressure, it can't just make it 110 pounds of film strength. It has to be some kind of big multiplier. So I'm curious what the multiplier is. So like maybe 100 pounds of oil pressure makes it have X amount of film strength. Interesting. Think about that. So anyways, I got to go back, and before we run this, we just adjusted the valves. Everything's good there. Carburetors are off of the other engine, still set up for the other engine. Not going to mess with those just yet. See how it runs and what it's doing. But I do need to speed this pump up because I want to make it go a little bit faster. So you can see here, I just made, this is a, let me do this, 22, no, sorry. 18 tube. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tubes. So 2 teeth bigger. We'll see how much that changes your oil pressure. And this is just one of the multiple reasons why it takes so long to do stuff, because everybody's got to do something different. So what I decided to do was try to just adjust the bypass up first and just see what it did. So I'm going to do a couple tests here trying to mess around with the bypass before I have to change that pulley. Felt like it's bottoming out, but it shouldn't bottom that out. I'm not sure how they would ever bottom that out. Just going to take the whole bypass out so I can look at it and see what's going on. Let's try that. Well, that made 30, so I think we were down lower than that, so I think we were down at like 20, so I think it took about 10. We'll see what that picks up at RPM. Now, if you're liking this style of video, I'm just kind of curious. If you like me talking over the top of stuff and explaining more in detail of what's going on, let me know. Comment below. So, that's an interesting little spot right there, but going real crazy right up there. But let's look at our oil pressure. That's what I was really doing anyway. So 55 pounds of oil pressure at 75. Shoot. Nah, I'm just gonna have to go in and change that pulley, but I can't just order a pulley and wait another day. This is a common deal. It's like and how things always take so long, or I'm making something, or I'm doing something because you can't wait for something. Can't go down 30 minutes away and pick something up. So I can probably I can machine out the center of that pulley, and I mean hours worth of work versus waiting half a day, you know, the rest of today and the half a day tomorrow for UPS to get here. So that's a waste of time. All right, I'm gonna go modify a pulley. So I don't have the time to and the tooling to build or make a broach for this to cut the keyway groove in it. Obviously you can't put this thing on there without having a keyway in it. And so what is that? That's right, so this file is the same diameter or same width as the key, and so I'm hand cutting a key way in here to keep this pulley from turning. And it doesn't have to be, I'll tell the customer about it, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be there. So that's how I can get away with doing this, because it just needs something to keep it from turning, from spinning on the shaft. So as long as there's a keyway there, it'll do exactly that. Plus, it's getting pinched on and clamped all together by the bolt that's there. But that's not enough friction to ensure that it won't turn. I think I'll get it a little bit deeper now. So what I'll be doing is telling the customer that, or I might even just order them the correct one, but this gets me to testing and will not be any problem, and then I can just get one for the proper size mandrel. Because this thing's got a 1/120 mandrel in it. No freaking idea why. But it's the oddball one, so it's just coming up with parts or making parts to do it. Just like this is just like for all you old guys. It's just like downtown Julie Brown. Ding. Nobody knows what downtown Julie Brown is. Bada bing, bada boom. So what we're going to look at here is dead on oil pressure is at 30 pounds idling before. So let's see what it starts up with an idle back. All right, so I for sure sped the pump up. So it maybe it's hitting the bypass. Dang. Usually you spin these pumps up faster and it's just like revving them up a little bit higher. They make more oil pressure. Unless it's coming up against unless it's still coming up against the bypass. Maybe that bypass spring isn't real happy. Oh, the joys of figuring stuff out. Well, let's. I think we'll rev it up here and just see if it does make any more. Really could care less how much oil pressure it has at idle as long as it's got stuff. It's at RPM, so maybe it'll pick up at RPM. Yeah, I know that window is stained and dirty. Can't get it off. I'm gonna replace it sometime. I thought I saw 60 something, so maybe it did. And then I'm gonna go in there and just re-verify. Here, overlay that on the last one. Look at that. That's like, so you always know the engine's happy when it always just comes in and repeats. That's repeating. Don't care about the tune-up right now. That's just repeating. Let's see where we're at here. 62. All right. I'm gonna let her go here at the 62, and because I would be plenty happy of it being there. Now we'll go in and I'll see exactly what galley the oil pressure is on, because I can't remember if this is an older block. It might be on the lifter valley. Oh. Okay. My bad. Probably a bunch of wasted time over nothing. Because this is a GM, an old GM bow tie block. And it does not have priority main oiling. So this oil pressure sending unit is in the lifter galley. So it's not the same thing as having oil pressure down here, which I think they have. I can't remember. I think that one might actually be bypassed. I'd have to look at it because they have this whole plate and it's all welded and epoxied all up with a fitting right here. So it's not the same as just with the pump. So it's basically even though it's on this side of it, down, and then around. So it's at that point it's picked up oil from around the backside of the cam bearing. So I'm not nearly as worried, or not even. I wasn't worried about it. I was going to let it go anyways. Now I'm going, no, that thing's probably like 20 or 30 pounds lower than what it actually is at the main bearing and rod bearing. So not a problem. We'll be good to go. All right, cool. Let's rev this up a little bit higher and see where we're at. We'll come in. we'll make this next hit. We'll just take it up to like 8,000 or so, and we'll come in and look at spark plugs. Well, it's not blowing any oil, but it is idling up higher than it was before that pull. So I'll take a look at that. But we're at 854 at 8,400, 567 torque. That was the pull before there in the gold, so it's like spot on the money. And I think we'll just kind of go in there and take a look at spark plugs and see what we look like. It would probably be falling off over here anyways. I don't think this one's going to go quite as high as the other engine. Now, can you hear this clatter? Just clattering. You could also hear it stop at the, and I shake my head because I heard it and felt it. You can focus in on that. That sucks. Well, that sucks. Now just talk about that on, on the overview. So, like normal, just take off valve covers and start looking for something. It's pretty obvious it dropped the cylinder. We'll see where it's at. Don't really see anything on that side. Take the rest of this valve cover off. Ta-da! Right there. So this push rod that's out of the cup right there is a problem. Saw it drop the cylinder, obviously. Alrighty, so I took this off and I pointed to where the stand was, and here is the problem. So I'm going to see what's wrong with this. This stand is flat out loose. So I'm going to really have to go through and check I think I'll probably just go through and check all of these things. And I thought maybe it had broken the stand bolt, but it does not. I don't think so. My 5/8 go. If you want to see something's flat, you can just always just run a file across it within reason. This is actually flattish, but you can see here where it's shiny is where it was torqued. That was there. So it's a little bit, but that's the bolt pulling down in the center of the hole. It doesn't, when the bolt's right here, it can't pull over here as much as it pulls right there. So it always pulls the center. So it might have been a little bit high right here. I'm gonna go hit this on the surface plate, and because I don't think it's not bent or warped, it's just pulled up a little bit here, which probably screwed up with the torquing of this a little bit. I think I'm still going to take all these off and just double check and pull all the torque and make sure everything's all good, and then we'll put this back on. So it looks like I got adjuster, didn't kill the push rod, so I think we should be pretty good. Should be able to get this back together here pretty quick. Push rod cup, the adjuster cup, and its push rod came out of it. So we're going to take this cup out. This adjuster cup, it's called. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to grind it because I'm not going to be able to get it to turn. Oh, I did. Never mind. And just take this out and we'll put a new one in. So this part is fixed. The stand is nice, but I think it looks like now we're definitely got one bolt that looks like it's pulling out. And that just is coming from old. So I think we're going to end up having to take all these rockers off. Why don't you check the torque on the other ones just to see where they're at and make sure. And I don't think we can. Yeah, we're just going to have to take this whole stand off because Kyle's just checking torque, and this one will not torque any longer. So you can hear those ones over there torquing. This one would no longer torque, so it's pulling the thread out of the head. It's just, and that is right on top of the intake port too. So it's what it ends up being is a really short thread right there on top of the intake port. So we'll need to put a helicoil / time cert in it. So it is what it is. You can look down here, you can see all the epoxy. Check out all the epoxy here. All the way there, all the way there, all the way there, all the way there. But at least this one hasn't seemed to pull hasn't popped a hole in any intake port, so I guess, so that's cool. Alright, might as well take, however you want to do it, we need to get all the rock arms and stand off that side, so. Sweet, just what I was looking for. More work, more time. Alright, so here's the deal. You can see here, point for this side, Nate, over here. This is typical of the day and age where this is just epoxied everywhere. You're not going to weld on the cylinder head without redoing everything. I'm not going to do that. There's epoxy inside the runners, outside the runners, everywhere. Every hole in here, and you see that they have extra head bolt holes everywhere trying to hold the rocker arm stands down on this thing. So there's one there, 1, 2, 3, all these little ones, extra big ones. I mean, they're all over the place. In fact, I had to take the intake manifold off just to get this one rocker arm stand bolt out. This is an insert that was in there and has pulled loose. So I have to go to an oversized insert thread that is going to... The only way I can re-get new threads in there is to go to the next bigger time cert. So I'll have to drill it, tap it for the next bigger time cert, and then put it all back together. So it's not the end of the world, but just one more bit of hassle in the grand scheme of life. Alrighty, so here is what the deal is. Since we already have a big insert in there, it already has the large oversized insert for 7/16 in there. So I'm going to make one. I'm going to make a 3/4. I think it's 3/4 11. Yeah, whatever. 3/4 course OD. So I'm going to cut this bolt off, drill and tap it on the inside for 7/16 14, and insert that. There probably is some insert out there in the world somewhere, but I can just make it right now. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right. So this is actually really easy to clean up right here, because keep in mind the intake port is closed, the valve is closed in the port, so nothing's getting in there. And we got it ragged, and will be easy to clean up. Old insert. Right now there's going to be some guy watching this video that says, well, you just don't digitize it and make a whole brand new billet cylinder.
Alright. Just do that real quick.
You got the machinery. You could do that. I think we're going to let that set overnight, and we'll come take that out and sweet. Okay.
That almost looks like someone made the stand.
Yeah, Kyle came in the morning and putting this thing all back together. Got to put the stand on with all these weird little bolts that are all in the intake face of the cylinder head before you can put the intake manifold back on. So Kyle's got everything all bolted on, and so now I'm just putting in spark plugs and finishing up the little stuff. And let's get ready to make another hit on this thing. So now we're at day 2 on what should have been a day 1 dyno job. But things happen all the time, every time. Well, almost every time. Alright, here we're just doing a little bit of idle adjustment. I messed around with the linkages, and one of the linkages was actually kind of partially holding it open. So that's why I'm just readjusting the idle screws, getting it to idle right. Darn it. Now you can see the coil fell off the front plate. I only have it temporarily mounted with just a one single bolt. And now that I know that that wasn't the noise issue, I just took the tin coil off. Alrighty, well, okay, we're back up there where it should be. Let me, we'll come back. I mean, that's kind of a cold hit, but this is the hit with the rocker arm. Oh, it's a little unhappy right here. Oh, you know, it's probably because it's not hot enough through here, but gets the same, and then continues to take off because it doesn't have rocker arm kicked off it. So let's take a look at our data. Yeah, oil pressure is, you know, in 76 pounds at 9,000 RPM. That's fine. Right. And I can believe this one's down from the other engine. Pretty obvious that the other engine has a lot more work done to it. So I think we're just gonna go in there, take a look at valve latch, make sure all that stuff's all staying the same, everything's all good, and come back out and make another hit. Alrighty. Let's take a little look here. That is probably, I know this thing is again is a little rich. Probably it's definitely a little richer than the other engine. Just even looking at spark plugs. So I did add just a couple degrees of timing to it. Now, we'll go previous run there. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So this is just, I think, from the engine just being cold. It's just angry right there. But it does pick up a little bit out here. Looks pretty decent. If we get rid of that run, we look at with before the rocker arm issue, and we'll do this. Yes, there we go. So this green line is 2 degrees of timing less, which makes 100% sense. Usually, though, less timing will pick up some torque. It doesn't need all the timing there, but it does need timing up here. So this is a difference in just 2 degrees of timing. This engine having 37 degrees of timing, or 36, 37 degrees of timing, and that is 800. So that is almost 20 horsepower difference right there. So 54 to 73. Yes, I mean it's 20 horsepower difference in timing, and it's only above 8,000 RPM that it makes that. 872. I think this one is, there is probably, I mean, I could make probably 900. We could lean on it. We could, you know, really fine tune this thing to get another 30 horsepower. Same thing goes. This thing is, you know, we can make things cutting edge lean, but in this application, in a pulling, little pulling tractor application, where it is, this thing was going to go to 9,000 RPM, stay at 9,000 RPM until it is pulled backwards, until it either, you know, almost shuts the engine off at 7,500 RPM. So I mean, it is pulling backwards the whole time. That's just the nature of the beast. So we're not making this thing dead lean. We have to make it live first. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I can tell you right away. I mean, I can look at this engine and tell you that it's not going to make the same horsepower as the other one. I think that is pretty good. I think that is right. I mean, there's not 100 horsepower worth of tuning in this thing. I'll guarantee you that. 30, sure, probably make up 30 or so. But you know, it is what it is. Now, also, I did not mention this. I should mention this. When you look at, go back here to this little picture of like Valvetrain, this is a standard conventional bow tie Chevrolet block. The other block in the other engine is a rocket block, was specific built, has altered lifter spacing, has a larger camshaft core. This is a standard cam. I believe this is standard cam core. It definitely is a standard lifter location. You can see that right here. So it has worse push rod angles. You can't get as much push rod in it. So the original builder didn't have as much push rod in it either. There's just certain limitations you're just not going to be able to do. I'm happy the thing even revs up and makes peak horsepower at, you know, 86, 8700 RPM and runs at 9,000 RPM. Valvetrain on this one is not nearly as friendly as the other engine. So there's some inherent things in this type of engine. This one, the other reason I can just look at it and tell you that, no, this engine just isn't as good, or isn't going to make as much horsepower. So everything looks great. Let's double check our oil pressure was all cool, and I think after that, I think this thing is done. It's going to be a good backup motor, but this is going to be the backup engine. And oh, we could compare it to the other engine. Let's do that. See report. Doesn't make boost. Don't care about fuel pressure. Oil pressure is the only thing we're really looking at here. 75 pounds oil pressure again. All right, no problem. We'll leave that little pulley on there. Let's go back and graph this to number 1 engine, and we'll do torque and horsepower. Now we'll do history log. Yes. And we'll go back to that 935 horsepower one. Yep. Okay. And yeah, boy, that other engine is just the red line versus this green here in horsepower. Let's go in and make this a little bit easier to read here. Hold on one second. Conditions. To make this a little easier to read. Now let's go back and graph it. Get rid of some of those front side numbers. So here you go. So this thing is, yeah, that thing is all together, 6,500 or so. This is 698 to 737. Yeah, 40 horsepower. This thing's basically 40 horsepower. Comes up around, gets a little bit better up here. The other engine's just, it's better all the way around. There ain't no tuning this engine to duplicate this. The other engine ain't gonna happen. No freaking way. Looks good. Like I said, we could probably get, closer and, a 8800 number or so, but I think that is what it is. So, another nice, something different, man. Old school small block Chevrolet. That is a dyno session. That's probably pretty typical of a dyno session. So that puts me into we have a 2.5 days into that. What you just saw, from putting it on the dyno problems, dyno finish. Anyways, I'm Steve Morris. Have a great day.